All right, that was loud. I'll call to order Kalamazoo County Board of Commissioners Committee of the Whole for November 5th, 2025. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Commissioner Mazer, Commissioner Morales, Commissioner Ray, Chair Strebs,
Here.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Here.
Commissioner Wheeler, Commissioner DeLue,
Here.
Commissioner Gisler,
Here.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler.
Here.
You have 6 present.
Thank you, Clerk. I did hear communication from Commissioner Wheeler. She will not be in session with us this evening. They lost a firefighter in Ashtamo Township, and she's helping to tend to the community there this evening. And Commissioner Ray is in another appointment adjacent and will join us shortly. Okay, with that, we'll move to public comment. So an opportunity for public comment can be made in person or by phone by calling 855-925-2801 and entering meeting code 10748 and press *3 to join the queue. This is your opportunity to address the board for up to 3 minutes on any topic in a professional and respectful manner. Once you're recognized, either virtually or in person, please share your name and where you're from, and you have up to, again, 3 minutes. Is there anybody wishing to join us for public comment? You're welcome to come forward to the podium, and then you'll see a button there with the person on it to press to speak. There you go.
That work?
Welcome.
All right. Hello, everybody. I'm Chandra Kinney. I'm with the Kalamazoo Conservation District. I'm just here to give some updates on our community services. One, our Michigan Agriculture Environmental Association program technician, James Benjamin, has been recognized by many MDART staff as being the top technician across the state of Michigan. So please utilize his services as they are free and confidential. We are also making some improvements to the Kalamazoo Conservation District to increase our contribution to the Kalamazoo Master Plan. One of those is to include updating our mission statement. And our new mission statement is working with our community to protect, conserve, and restore the natural resources of Kalamazoo County. We are also working to expand our board by creating some associate board positions and in creating more community involvement in program development. We have also been working with a statewide collaborative organization called the Hunt Michigan Collaborative. This is aiding in providing natural resource management services, such as wildlife management services, to agriculture workers. So this is a service that we are able to now provide to farmers across Kalamazoo County to help them with any wildlife management issues they may be having. That is all the updates that I have for you right now, but of course we do have a lot of other services and programs, so if you don't know much about us, I do encourage you to log on to our website, kalamazooconservation.org. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Welcome. There you go. You got it.
Hi, there we go. My name is Barb Van Esseltine. I live at 7204 East Owen Avenue. That's in Pavilion Township. I feel compelled today to come before you to discuss the situation with phone and video calls at the jail. Jailed persons are charged an exorbitant amount for phone and video, which goes to fatten Kalamazoo County at about $1,000 a month. That is profit we make from jailed persons, their loved ones, and their families. The company that provides that service, Viapath, also makes a profit from these communications. Viapath collects a number of fees from persons who wish to use their services, in other words, people who wish to make a phone call. In addition to a per-minute charge for phone calls and video calls, the fees include you have to pay to open a Viapath account. There's a fee to call persons who don't have a Viapath account. There's a fee to deposit money into your account. And then there's a fee when you wish to close your account and get your money back out again. This appears to be a well-established process with a number of companies who offer these kinds of services, so we selected ViaPath. I do not believe that Kalamazoo County should profit from communications between jailed persons and their families and loved ones. At the worst, we should aim to break even. There's little doubt in my mind that we can do better than we are currently doing. We all want Kalamazoo to be a great place to live. We want to build Kalamazoo into the beloved community that the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. spoke about. The beloved community includes everyone. We should be focusing on how to reincorporate struggling persons back into our community, not on how to profit from them. Thanks to Now Kalamazoo for bringing this to my attention, and now I bring it to your attention. What are you going to do to remedy this situation? Thanks for your time and this opportunity to bring this to your attention and to ask you to do an investigation. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Barb. Welcome.
Good afternoon, Commissioners. My name is DJ Perry, and I serve as the Public Policy Manager for Maternal and Child Health at YWCA Kalamazoo. At YWCA Kalamazoo, our mission is to drive systemic change that eliminates racism, empowers women, and promotes peace, justice, freedom, and dignity for all. We are deeply committed to the advancing of policies and community initiatives that center the needs of families, especially those that are most marginalized. In 2024 alone, YWCA Kalamazoo had the pleasure of serving over 140 families consisting of over 180 children in our Improving the Lives of Children program. Today, I am here on behalf of those families and YWCA's child care and early childhood education staff to uplift the need for meaningful and community-informed relief in the child care sector. Across Michigan and Kalamazoo County, we are faced with a multitude of issues that plague the child care system. Some of these issues include affordability, inequitable pay, quality of care, and even access to available facilities that can provide a safe and healthy environment for infants and toddlers. There are often few to no options for families requiring care during third shift, and there still exists barriers to accreditation and licensing, preventing providers from receiving critical funding. And as a provider of childcare services, we at YWCA Kalamazoo often see additional stressors like burnout. As these issues plague the state of childcare in Michigan, retention levels for providers within the sector continue to drop, causing a snowball effect on larger providers like YWCA Kalamazoo. And as we anticipate increased need for childcare, we still provide low to no barrier access to care. Access to various supports for families also continue to regress as the complexities of these issues are now layered with the funding changes from the federal government. As we have seen, many of the crucial services that are provided by the state and funded through the federal government have had the dispersing of already awarded funding paused, while other agencies and programs are defunded altogether. Government funding is a critical lifeline not only for providers like YWCA Kalamazoo, but also those vulnerable and marginalized families seeking care as well. In normal times, the state would step in to backfill these gaps to mitigate the effects of pulling funding that supports pivotal lifelines that service our families across the state. However, our state budget for fiscal year 26 has deprioritized many supports for families. This puts our local communities at immediate risk. However, this also offers an opportunity to collaborate on innovative policies to address these gaps in care, strengthen our community, and make us more self-sufficient to survive future unpredictability. YWCA Kalamazoo stands at the forefront of the provision of care for our most vulnerable and marginalized families. We've approached this board for collaboration to address a myriad of issues facing our community and are here to do so again once today. As we continue to have these conversations surrounding these issues in childcare, we will remain steadfast in the belief that where the reach of the state and federal program ends, our community must step in with innovative local solutions. No family should be left behind, regardless of race, religion, income, or family structure. And we look forward to working with you all in the very near future to ensure our community lives up to these values. Thank you.
Perfect timing. Thank you, DJ. Is there anyone else wishing to make public comment? Administrator, is there anyone online?
There are no hands raised, Chair.
Thank you so much. All right, we will move to item 3. This is a review of accounts payable and our payroll disbursements. And we'll welcome our Finance Director, Ryan Post. Welcome, Director.
Good afternoon, Chair, Vice Chair Pro Tem, Board of Commissioners, Corporate Counsel. Thank you. I have a lot of comments, but I'm going to refrain from that. We have an accounts payable claims list totaling $4,978,491.51 is presented for review. Of this total, the Board of Commissioners is asked to approve claims totaling $4,296,821.51. Payroll disbursements totaling $4,480,625.91 are presented for the October 24th general and October 31st elected payrolls. Welcome any questions from the Board of Commissioners at this time.
Thank you, Director. Are there any questions, Commissioners? I'm seeing none.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We'll move to item 4. We'll hear on the 2024 Office of the Medical Examiner's Report. We'll welcome Dr. Patrick Hansma from the Office of the Medical Examiner and Department of Pathology. Welcome.
Thank you so very much. I will keep this very brief. It's a data-driven presentation that you all have before you. I've given you a printed copy. That's an excerpt of Kalamazoo County only from our larger annual report. So if you want to see Kalamazoo numbers relative to the other 13 counties that WMed serves, you can go on our website. It's very easy to find, WMed Medical Examiner Annual Report. Just Google that, you'll find it, and you can see how Kalamazoo compares to mortality statistics in other counties. But just to run you through this report very quickly, on the very first page is a summary of all the Kalamazoo County cases, and you're reading down that right margin is the 2024 numbers. Honestly, very little change from the year prior. There's not much to talk about. Last year, I stood before you and said what I'm seeing everywhere is a return to pre-COVID numbers, but could not really say whether things were going to continue to decline, whether they would stabilize, or whether they would go back up. And it has been a blend across all our counties so far. And as it is, total deaths in Kalamazoo County have declined slightly, but the deaths reported to the medical examiner have risen slightly. And then our responses to those, whether or not they need to come to WMed for a postmortem exam, the extent of that postmortem exam, highly variable across our various counties. And in Kalamazoo, no different. Essentially, we're just kind of seeing noise in the data. One thing I will draw your attention to, fortunately, if you scroll down that right-hand column in that first table and you see the number 25 almost to the bottom, that's tissue donations. So that is number of successful donations out of the number right above it, which is referrals to Gift of Life, 302 referrals. You will notice those numbers keep going up. And so that is wonderful. We are getting referrals accomplished successfully within the window necessary to make referrals so procurement can happen and tissue and organ donations can proceed. So that's excellent. We're very happy about that. Table right below it is cremation permits. The vast majority of deaths that we encounter, the final remains are ultimately cremated. Now it's 3/4 of deaths. That's the preferred method of disposition as opposed to burial. Cremation is very popular, so we are increasingly busy approving cremation permits to make sure that no non-natural deaths are slipping through the cracks prior to cremation without that death being investigated. So that keeps us very busy. The next page at the very top, manners of death reported in Kalamazoo. Again, reading down that right-hand column, vast majority of deaths are natural. The majority of deaths that the medical examiner investigates are natural because we don't know that they're natural until we have looked into them. And so fortunately, most of them are natural, accidents being the second most. Fortunately, homicides are near the bottom there. Then it's presented graphically in the middle of that page and below it, the deaths reported by age in Kalamazoo County. That table, unfortunately, due to a formatting error, is split funny, so I would ask you to turn the page to see the 2024 numbers. Sorry about that. We're reading across the bottom row of that top table on page 45 now, and that's the distribution of deaths across the county. The vast majority are in those ages 65 and older. There were, unfortunately and tragically, several pediatric fatalities in Kalamazoo. The details of those are on the rest of that page. In the infants, we continue to see fatalities that are at least associated, if not due to, potentially unsafe sleep situations. We just heard public comment about the YWCA and access to care, and I cannot stand here and correlate those two, but hopefully these are not happening due to impediments to resources. Hopefully people are able to get the resources they need, and that this is not a community lapse that is contributory to these infant fatalities. We know many things are systems issues, not individual issues, tragically. Beyond that, I'll let you read through the details of those at your convenience. And that takes us to the top of page 46. That very top table doesn't tell you very much, but what it tells you is crucial, that the infant deaths that our office certified, 100% of them are autopsied. So they are certified with a high degree of confidence, which is very good because not every county in the state of Michigan can claim that. Fortunately, you are served by board certified forensic pathologists. So infant mortality receives very in-depth investigation, including full autopsy. Accidental deaths are the next table. You're reading down the right column there. Is the 2024 numbers. Motor vehicles and drug-related fatalities are always at the top, and falls in the elderly, you'll see 112 deaths due to falls. These are mostly the elderly. Grandma or grandpa falls, fractures a hip, never recovers. These are not falls from heights. And then below that are the drug-related fatalities broken down by manner of death. Most are by convention certified as accident. Approximately 1/10 of that were suicidal. And then that's graphically represented on the next page. And then below that is a table of the suicides by age in Kalamazoo County, and 2024 is across that bottom row. Tragically, there were 3 pediatric suicides in Kalamazoo County, as well as 5 in young adults. It's something we typically more expect to see in adults and older adults, but there were some younger suicides that clustered in Kalamazoo County last year. And then that takes you to the very last page. The mechanisms of suicides, firearms and hangings are often the most common, just essentially due to ease of access. And then carbon monoxide toxicity, often by motor vehicle or generator exhaust in an enclosed space, and then drug intoxication as well are the major players. And then below that are the homicides by mechanism, firearms, often the most common and no different here in Kalamazoo. And then blunt force and sharp force trauma, slightly less common. Essentially, Kalamazoo numbers resemble those of the rest of the state and the nation at large. And with that, I'll entertain any questions.
Other questions? Commissioner Gisler?
Thank you, Chair. This, I don't think you covered specifically, but you probably have a better handle on it than anybody here. It's been since I've been on the county commission, there has been an issue with racial diversities and number of infant deaths. And we always look like we're almost Detroit, which I tend to think of as the bottom of the barrel in terms of infant mortality. And yet our Black kids, little kids, infants, seem to be dying at an inordinate rate. Do you have any feel for that?
Not exactly. Because I'm not an epidemiologist, and so I can't give you great answers. But what I can say is that, and I'm not a historian, but I can say that it's my observation that infant mortality tends to associate with socioeconomic status. And due to the history of this country, that unfortunately has a fairly overlapping Venn diagram of race and socioeconomic status. And so high proportion of minorities falling into a lower socioeconomic status. And so it's my personal observation that higher number of Black infants dying, not because they're Black infants, but because they fell to that socioeconomic group. And therefore, I hate to say coincident, because it's not coincident. There's a history there, but by history, Black infants in that group, and therefore a higher mortality rate. I did work in Detroit for a time, and your observation is not invalid. There is, again, my personal observation, not data, just observation. I think something of a culture of, what's the word I'm looking for? I think criticism and skepticism for the healthcare community in large cities with a large, lower socioeconomic base. And so places like Detroit, there are a lot of people that are not interested in accessing care because they fear that they're not going to get the care that they need and therefore don't go at all. Again, that's not data. It's just my personal observation, having worked there and here and many places elsewhere. I hope that answers your question. I know it's not satisfying, but I hope it's an answer.
Yeah, it basically talks about scope beyond just Kalamazoo County.
Yes.
And my concern is Kalamazoo County seems to be worse than it ought to be. And I guess that's just going to remain bothersome unless somebody like you, Chair, has some inside ideas on why that's the case.
Let me, maybe I'll speak to that, but I'll have let me go, I think Commissioner Morales, and then we'll go to Vice Chair, and we'll continue to Commissioner Morales.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you for this data as well. I will ask you, because you are a professional, and the data that I've researched with a lot of BIPOC doctors, socioeconomic status is a part of it, but structural racism is a part of it as well.
Oh, sure.
I need you to, I would really appreciate if you would put that into play as well. When we talk about Detroit, I don't think they're the bottom of the barrel. I think that structurally, they've been impacted by the lack of health care given to specifically Black women. We look at whether a Black woman is facing financial turmoil, or if she's a middle-class woman like myself, the death rates are parallel. And so when we look at that, and I also put up some information that supports that, it shows that we're more likely to die than those of white poor women. So when we bring this to this public sector like this, and people are hearing this, some people will only hear one thing, only poor Black people that are suffering based on their socioeconomic status, this is happening to them. And if we're going to keep data, and I understand, I feel life experiences, I do consulting through life experiences, but when we're talking about something as sensitive as this, I need all the data to support why we're, one, dying, one, that racism is still playing a crucial part in the success of Black and brown women having successful pregnancies, one, infant mortality rates, and living themselves. So thank you, Chair. I really wanted to bring that to the table.
Thank you, Commissioner Morales.
If I may.
Go ahead.
All those points absolutely valid. And I just want to say I wasn't trying to pigeonhole this into a single thing. I was just trying to not abuse the commission's time with something that I don't know enough about, that I would go into rambling if I were talking about systemic racism, because I'm not a sociologist. I'm rambling now. So I was trying to give a succinct answer, but it is absolutely multifactorial. There's no doubt about that. And that is absolutely a factor. And bringing it to the floor for public hearing is absolutely correct. No doubt about it. So thank you.
Yeah. And the impact that systemic racism is a significant contributor. Vice Chair.
Thank you. I just want to emphasize Commissioner Morales' point. The data shows that African-American women with a PhD that make over $100,000 a year have more chance of maternal death than a poor white woman that's making $30,000 a year. So the socioeconomic factors don't ring true as far as looking at just the numbers, and not looking at it from any sort of perspective one way or the other, but just looking at it from math. It is a testament to systemic racism. And I really appreciate the comment by Commissioner Gissler, because I think that is the epitome as we look at infant mortality, what's going on with our funding for some of our WIC programs, some of our maternal health programs within the county. How are we going to turn the tide to that obvious systemic racism? And, math has got to be a big part of that future, but I really appreciate your comments, Commissioner Morales.
Thank you. I'm going to follow into this dialogue, and then I have some additional questions to address as well. But I think it's important, and for community and often with our medical community, when we think about what is systemic racism, we have multiple systems at play. But when we speak about the impacts within medical care, for example, it was very common until just not long ago that if you were a Black African American person and you were being evaluated for kidney function, the actual diagnostic criteria was based on racist assumptions that Black people had stronger kidneys than white people. And so your blood levels would have to demonstrate a much higher level of risk until you were referred for care for kidney disease. That was how it was taught. The actual algorithm that medical professionals use to evaluate that, among many other conditions, was pervasive, endemic, actually written into curriculum and taught to healthcare professionals until just 2 years ago. And lo and behold, there's a higher rate of kidney disease in the African American community, but they have a higher barrier to get into access of care. So another misnomer within the medical profession, and this is borne out in analysis when they survey medical students, there's a misnomer that, again, African American people have a higher pain tolerance. So it'd be much more likely for a mother in labor to be expressing, I'm in pain, I don't feel right, and for that not to be attended to by healthcare professionals. There's a number of studies that weigh that out and understand those systems at play. So when we talk, it's not just like a bad person making a bad decision. It's the way that the structure is built, the way the curriculums are designed, the way our laws are enacted, or our programs are funded. Like we're going to lose funding for our WIC programming and infant maternal health in our community. And we're going to see then what happens because of that. So I'm sorry there, but just since we're speaking on that, one of the things I really appreciated in your report right at the outset of the lengthy report is a concept I had never really understood the gravity of, that the medical examiner's office is really preventive medicine. And can you speak to that a little bit? It was in the foreword of the report. How is, when we look at when people have died, how is that preventive medicine, and how do we use that dialogue to drive that agenda?
Yeah, so the autopsy is a retrospective diagnostic study, and it is, I think, very easy to fall into the trap that you're autopsying this individual for the sake of that individual, but that's not the purpose. The medical examiner's office is intended to be a public health office. We are doing these investigations on these deaths to ascertain if there is a public health threat. So we cannot prevent anything for that person who's already deceased, right? That ship has sailed tragically. And so therefore, is there something here that we need to know about? Whether it is an emerging disease like COVID-19 5 years ago, was it the mere presence of someone who was homicidal in the community? That both of those are public health threats. And so if we recognize something that is actually a homicide that did not appear to be so, we can alert law enforcement and say, this death is suspicious and needs to be investigated. So there's a lot of ways that it can be viewed as preventive medicine. I'm tempted to continue the conversation on pediatric mortality, but we'll be here all night. I'll dig myself into a hole. But this data is intended to serve that purpose, and it's not all captured here, of course, in the numbers. I just presented on the history of forensic medicine at the National Association of Medical Examiners conference in Louisville, Kentucky a couple weeks ago, and tried to make the point that History is not in the textbooks or the articles where we do the research. And public health, these are numbers and that's great, but when you get down to it, there's a very human side of this that never really gets captured for the rest of the world to see. Again, I don't want this to go all night, but my statement about casual observation about socioeconomic status is because if you reviewed the case files on these pediatric cases and saw the homes we responded to, it is exquisitely rare for us to respond to an economically affluent home for a pediatric fatality. It's very rare. So it's not in the numbers, but it's my observation. So a lot of it is, I think, actually probably lost, and as preventive as we want to be, the public can't access all of it. Now I'm rambling.
Oh, that's all right.
Again, I'm sorry.
Well, and I just appreciated that perspective shared within the report. And one of the things that I help participate in our region of the state, in the public mental behavioral health system, we review sentinel events that occur for beneficiaries. And so when we have an individual receiving mental health services and they die of a homicide or they die of suicide, regionally, we collectively review the case. We do a review of the medical notes we talk through, and we problem solve systemically. Were there places that we could have made adjustments so that we evaluate and use that as a preventative measure in the future? So do you have opportunity in the review of the data to then dig into dialogue like that with providers, practitioners, or, you know, like you spoke at the conference? Where are the other avenues that you can share the insights?
Yeah, it's usually happening in real time. With each case that comes, we are looking for opportunities to say, who treated this person? What was their access to care? Was APS involved or CPS? And give feedback back to them saying, you know, we've got this situation, and lo and behold, you closed your case 6 months ago. They had made necessary improvements, and you closed your case, and 6 months later, this person is dead of the same situation that got you involved in the first place. You know, does this mean that your agency needs to continue contact with these people longer? You know, things like that. Oh gosh. I look for opportunities to give autopsy reports to treating clinicians if available. If I'm reviewing medical records and I see, okay, I uncovered something that I don't think they recognized based on reading the notes, I look for who that clinician was. And if I can find their email, I shoot them the autopsy report just saying, hey, heads up, it looks like maybe you didn't see this on your laparotomy or whatever. I have no idea if it makes a dent, but I try. You know, so it's usually happening in real time.
Thank you for that. Then one other thing is we're looking at the suicides by age, and it looks better in this data, in these data, than I'd expected to see. But I found it also enlightening to learn the rate of suicide prevalence among older adults in the community. And that looks like it's been on the decline, which is a wonderful thing. But looking at people over the age of 45 in, you know, 22, 23, I mean, that was some of the highest rate of suicide, particularly in 2022. So it looks like that's improving, which is good. And I just elevate that. I mean, obviously, every suicide is a tragic circumstance, and there are many reasons that drive people to suicidal ideation. Sometimes that is chronic and debilitating mental health condition. It is also sometimes chronic and debilitating pain. Suffering is just great for some people, and loneliness is great. So those are just things for us to, you know, absorb and be aware of as we're thinking about all the threats to the programming coming, and what are our values, and who do we protect, and how do we do that?
Mental health that you point to is an extremely difficult thing to capture in this type of data. getting back to that point of what's in the numbers versus what you see. And it's extremely difficult because once they are deceased, it's very difficult for us to know what their ideation, their intentions, their mental and emotional state was at the moment of their death. It can be very challenging to ascertain even whether a death is a suicide. If it's intoxication, did they go to their favorite recreational drug again? Or did they actually follow through with their threats that they made to their girlfriend 2 days ago on the phone, for example, that they're going to end it, and they did so by their favorite recreational drug? Very difficult to capture the influence of mental health in suicides. We know it's there, but quantifying it, very difficult.
Right, right.
Yep.
Dr. Hansma, I just want to thank you all. Go ahead, Commissioner Kissler.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, this one's easy, I think. Easier than the ones you've been dealing with. Do you provide, does your office provide service to any of the northern counties in Indiana? That was occasionally something that came up in the past. Is that still the case?
Yeah, St. Joseph County, Indiana, their coroner will send us cases for autopsies when they need it. And then Elkhart County, Indiana, much less so, but every once in a while will send us a case if they need an autopsy. Yep.
So you go far beyond just the 16 counties in Michigan.
Well, it's not far. They're just across the border, but yes, we are present in that regard in Indiana, and our pathologists do have to go down to South Bend, for example, to testify on cases occasionally. So,
how many pathologists, if you'll humor me, do you have on your staff?
Presently, there are 5 of us. We need 7.
Thanks.
If you know anybody.
All right, I'm seeing no other. So, Dr. Hansma, I want to thank you for taking the time for the report. I think we all find this very interesting when we receive it and review it each year. And for your service, this is both important and somber and technical work, and we appreciate the value that provides to the community and to families and to all. So thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Okay. You gotta wake that back up for me. We're on a computer sleep struggle, and I'm borrowing Commissioner Hepler's laptop, which I will need. We're gonna move into item number 5, discussion on our community grant applications. And so as he's bringing that forward, so we've had again, just to reorient us, we've had a number of discussions really beginning back as far back as our budget retreat earlier in the year. Community came forward and request of resources from up to $400,000 pool of funds for our community grants. We received an initial and finalized recommendation from administration, which is still included in our materials. And then commissioners individually scored the items as well and rated those, and then sent their ratings back to administration, which have been collated for us and made a little easier to read for this evening. And now we need to really finalize the recommendations. So I do have some thoughts, but I'll open up if there's any particular items that commissioners are seeing concern with or want to elevate for prioritization. And then we'll move forward from there. Commissioner DeLue.
Yeah, thank you, Chair. I of course want to elevate Ashtamo Township. I think it's pretty much supported here, and I'm never going to call the youth sports complex a curse, but the traffic associated with the youth sports complex could be a curse. It's pretty bad out there on the west side already. And they have already commissioned their own study and paid for part of it, but they did that before they realized they're getting the youth sports complex. So this would greatly assist them in seeing what they could do to handle their traffic. I would also like to bring up something I think Vice Chair Taylor brought up is I think it'd be nice to support all the local townships. We had requests from Schoolcraft, Parchment, and Texas Township. The 3 of them together are just a little over $100,000. I know Schoolcraft is kind of made the top 10, so to speak, but I'd also like to see money going to Texas and Parchment. I know the YWCA wasn't on our top 10, but after realizing what they do for this community in their presentation tonight. You know, I always give more credence to people that actually show up than just submitting maybe some paperwork. But you know, and I know we can't please everybody. Just throwing out another option to think about is even if we added more money to we're already at 451. If we added more, we could give everybody a certain percentage as opposed to just funding so many at 100%. So that's just an option as well. But my choices right now are certainly the school or the township requests.
Thank you, Commissioner DeLu. I guess I'll make just one observation about the scoring from commissioners, and then I'll advance further to comments from my colleagues. But really, the grid that we've received with the scoring from commissioners, if you look at all of the items that have received the most support, not all majority support, but from at least 3 commissioners or more, and we have about $550,000 of funding there. Now, so I'll lay that out there. With the reduction of 1 or more of those items, we could come into more alignment. I will share again, as I did last time, there is an item with the support from 3 commissioners for guardian, finance, and advocacy services, and that was for $38,000. And again, this was for legal guardianship for people under the age of 65. Those are primarily going to be individuals' developmental disabilities and mental illness. And it is really a state initiative to reduce the number of those types of legal relationships, because we do it at a far greater rate than the rest of the country does. And there are other mechanisms to protect vulnerable people, besides taking all of their decision-making rights. So I would recommend we not move that one forward and potentially move some of that funding to Mothers of Hope instead. So I was going to listen before I talked much about that. I'm going to go to Vice Chair, and then I'll go to Commissioner Morales.
Yeah, I appreciate the work that went into this. I know it's a lot of work to go through all of that. I agree with a lot of what Commissioner DeLu said, specifically around municipalities. One of my big ones that I liked was the United Way, because it was for tax preparation for Alice population. It was so that they could get the refunds that were owed to them by the federal government and get it back into the community. So I looked at it as both a revenue generating thing to get money back into the community. However, that did not score well, and I do understand Chair Strebs, and I agree with her. Everything that I was originally going to propose was everything that got 4 or higher, and then the 3s that were recommended by the administrator. So we would take away the $50,000 that got a 2s, the $250,000 that got 2s, and then include the city of Parchment. That would generate about $27,000 that would help sort of get us close to that $400,000 level. I appreciate the chair's comments about the guardian finance advocacy services, because I don't know a whole lot about that, and I'm sure she knows a heck of a lot more about that than I do. But if she'd rather take that $38,000 and go towards a smaller donation to the Mothers of Hope, I certainly don't have a problem with that. But I would sort of recommend us taking I think it's Disability Network Southwest and the Urban Alliance, and put that towards the City of Parchment and Mothers of Hope. But that would be my sort of my 2 cents on that.
Vice Chair, will you just say the last part of that recommendation again, so I make sure I understood?
So, well, my original one before listening to you was to just take the Urban Alliance and the Disability Southwest Michigan, and then include the City of Parchment. That would save us about $26,000, and I think we were at 438 out of a 400 expenditure. So we'd have 12 to come up with roughly. if we were to do that. But you had mentioned the Guardian Finance and Advocacy Services that was currently at 38,000. And then another group that did get 3 votes as well was Mothers of Hope. I would be comfortable with that. I guess I'm comfortable following the order of number of supporters from commissioners. I think that should be the sort of goal. And if we're going to give it to a 3, I think we should fund all 4s higher. And then the conversation should really be about what we do with the money for the 3s.
Thank you. And that last suggestion, if Vice Chair was in alignment, moving money from Guardian Advocacy to Mothers of Hope, I think that gets us to 397,000, if my math ended up correct. Commissioner Morales, are you good to?
Kind of. So, I do think my time on this board, I feel at this point that we really neglected some of our villages and townships when they're coming to ask for money. Some of it is a lot, but I think we should be able to support them a little more. But 2, and shoot, I lost we're doing some IT work over here. I lost my screen. 2, I think that flushing money into bigger entities is fine, but we forget about the grassroots organizations that are really doing the work to help people get to the finish line. So the fact like Been Not Broken didn't get funded, Mothers of Hope, like we're scouring to find funds for them. And some other projects, even when we look at other areas in housing, I'm beginning to become very disappointed in how we allocate those dollars. And the allocations that are being pushed forward is really flushing out our most vulnerable people. Even though these bigger entities are like, no, we're here to service those folks. But when you look at the data, the most vulnerable people still aren't using those services. So I personally, as we move forward, would like to see more money flushed into grassroots organizations. I think we spend a lot of money on outside resources to manage things that they have a hard time managing in their everyday operations. So I just want us to think about that as he fixes this. I think Mothers of Hope deserves more than $30,000. I don't know. I'm not familiar with the entity that you're asking to delete. I'm in support of deleting them and flushing dollars where we know the most impact is gonna happen for our community. Sorry, I'm rambling.
That's okay, and I know you're trying to multitask too, as we're.
I am, because a lot of my stuff that I want to talk about is.
So I just want to make sure I'm in alignment with the discussion so far, and then I'll go to Commissioner Ray. This sort of moving some money from Guardian Finance to Mothers of Hope. What that does too, it gets us 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7 of the 9 organizations recommended by administration. And then I believe it covers each of the municipal government requests as well. Is that correct? Except for Texas Township. Okay, Commissioner Morales.
I'm sorry. And I mean, like we have, even though we're cutting funding from different spaces, I support Griffin Place, but I mean, was that their max amount? I remember it was something like that when they came about a year ago and asked us. Some of their services are duplicative, so if we have to cut some from there, this is like the 211, all that, or 311 for them. Okay. Thank you.
I'm sorry, and that was I just had responded to Commissioner Morales. That was not one funded.
Okay, I was looking at something. Okay.
Yeah, that's okay. But just so they could hear what I said. And Commissioner Ray.
Thank you, Chair. I didn't hear Commissioner DeLue's comments, but I do agree with the recommendations. I guess my question would just be for Mothers of Hope, if we change that and then allocate the funding there, it would be like $29,824. Is that enough to do what they said they were going to do when they requested $150,000? Do you want to ask that question first and then also have them submit the documentation that wasn't sufficient, which is why they weren't recommended in the first place? And then my second question, when I looked at the grant application for Charlie's Place, their request was $100,000, and I see it on here at $50,000. So is $50,000 enough for them to do the programs that they proposed? I just want to ask those questions before we
Yeah.
do those allocations.
Thank you for clarifying, and those, the suggestions on Mothers of Hope, are good. I think that would have been something I would have, suggested too, just the receipt of the budget of what will be done with the money and a willingness to accept the reduction. I don't know if our human calculator or, an actual calculator. I think, if we add up the items, the lines aren't numbered here, but down through the allocation initially suggested for guardian finance and advocacy takes it to 397 and change, I thought. So if we move that to Mothers of Hope, they would get 38,000, and then we could do the difference to bring us to 4, so they get about 40,000-ish, I think would be the proposal. But somebody better with numbers could check those for me. Administration, to Commissioner Ray's question on Charlie's Place request, can we clarify if 100,000 was sought from that organization? Okay, I mean, not that I'm just, maybe there was like a communication that occurred that we're missing or something like that. So no doubt that Commissioner Way was diligent.
Yeah, Chair, it does appear that they requested 100,000. Our management analyst must have.
Okay,
Must have been
just an
scrivener's
error.
error. So yeah, they requested 100. So we would have to reach out to them at this point to see if they could utilize a $50,000 balance. Yep.
Which could also change our approach. You know, we could have discussion whether we want to fund them at the requested 100,000 and reduce the number of organizations overall which receive funding, or if we want to move forward with the recommendation, sort of, it sounds like we're leaning on, provided that there is agreement from both Charlie's Place and Mothers of Hope that a reduced allocation is, you know, workable for them. I'm up to Vice Chair.
Okay, so what I've got is if we going through this, and most of these are administrative recommendations as well, but the WM Western Medicine, the Ashtamo Charter Township, Village of Schoolcraft, Local Journalism of Kalamazoo County, City, I've got the City of Parchment, Senior Services of Southwest Michigan, the Girl Scouts of Michigan, and that adds up to 272, which would leave Mothers of Hope with 128.
No, it looks like, Vice Chair, you missed Charlie's Place, CARES, and the First Day Shoe Fund.
Charlie's Place was not recommended on the one I'm looking at.
No, not just the administrator's recommendations,
Oh, okay.
but the
All
number of
threes?
commissioner supports, yes.
Okay.
So if all items with a 3 or greater, so that's from Mothers of Hope up on our, can we,
Then Chair, Commissioner Ray is correct. It would leave about $28,000 for Mothers of Hope, or 23,000. I'm sorry. 29,824. Yeah, that's about right. It would be under $30,000.
unless we move the allocation from Guardian Finance, which is 38,000.
I'm not including that.
With moving that?
Yes.
If we move 38, how do they end up with less than 38 then? I'm so confused.
Because in the administrator's initial recommendations, we didn't have Charlie's Place, Community AIDS Resource Education Service, and First Day Shoe Fund, which received 3 votes, but we didn't have that.
I added them all up. I did use the old calculator and a couple buttons was stuck. But I got 370,176.
And I just added the numbers and did not do the fractions, and it was pretty close to that. That includes adding Parchment, but not Texas, correct?
It's okay, Commissioner Morales.
May I address Duluth? How much is 23?
For which one? For Texas? Of the 2 requests from Texas, what would be the preference of the board if we choose to honor one? which would be the priority among the two of them. Mirroring commentary that the trail.
It's the trailway repaving and enhancement. The other one's 22,750 for continuous community engagement.
So I apologize if I'm missing requests to join into the dialogue. So when I just went through, if I looked at WMed, Ashtamo, Charter Township, Village of Schoolcraft, local journalism, City of Parchment, Senior Services, Charlie's Place, CARES, First Day Shoe Fund, Girl Scouts of Michigan, and Guardian and Financial Advocacy Services. I locked your phone in the calculator up now. That came to $370,000. Again, I am
Chair, did you say Girl Scouts as well?
correct.
Okay, yeah, so the total, I have the Excel sheet open, it's easier.
Thank you so much.
So yes, that's $370,176.
Thank you. So then we'd have 30,000 left to allocate. You included the Guardian Finance in that total?
I did not.
Okay. Thank you. So with it included, that took us to, that would have been 408,000. There we go. I knew something was like about 7,000. My apologies. Okay. I know she's got it. I'm just trying to make myself understand what's going on. Okay. All right, so if we go through to the Girl Scouts, we have 370. So, yeah, we have 30K. Are we in agreement to that point? We need to just dialogue around what to do with the initial, the final 30,000. Let me go to Commissioner Ray.
So I am in agreement to that point, but if we want to add Texas Township and we're reducing folks and not giving the full amount to, you know, smaller grassroots BIPOC organizations, we can look at the city of Parchment and just grant them 50,000. That would free up 13,000 to go towards the Texas Township, and then we can find another $10,000.
So there's the proposal from Commissioner Ray. Are you advocating for that? Are you comfortable with it? Okay. Vice Chair.
Yeah, I probably, so we get this right and we can probably write down a motion and give it to John. So he, it's there, but so that we're on the same page. Everything that scores a 3 or higher, we will do. We will do one of the Texas Township positions, but we're going to lower the Parchment from 73,150 to 50. So that will cover the Texas Township portion, the trailway portion of that part of it. And so all municipalities will at least be partially granted funds. And then that would still leave about $30,000 for Mothers of Hope allocation. And remove Guardian Finance. Okay, I'm good with that.
Well, we did it. Look at that. Teamwork. We did math on I love it. That's good. Okay. Any other? Good. Administrator.
Yes, no, I appreciate it, Chair. I just want to make sure. So I just want to repeat this just so we can have it written down for, we already have a motion crafted for the regular meeting. We don't need to make any decision or at least vote on it now. But I want to make sure. So we have WMed, we have Ashtamo Township, Village of Schoolcraft, the local journalism, City of Parchment, but not their full request. Now we're reducing it by 13,000. Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, to 50,000. Okay. It's reducing. I'm just making a note for myself so we can get this right, to 50,000. Okay. And then moving on, so I have Senior Services, Charlie's Place at 50,000, although they requested 100. I did review their budget really quickly, and it looks like most of their line items were within like they labeled it as capital. So I think they really could leverage the $50,000 essentially to program. They'll just omit certain things that they wanted to do. But I have CARES, and then First Day Shoe Fund, Girl Scouts. Then I have Mothers of Hope with the balance leverage from the city of Parchment request. So theirs would be about 23,000. Okay, what would 29.8? Oh, okay, right, right. That's fair. 29.824. Fair enough. Yes, that's okay. So I have that, and then I have the Texas Charter Township. Their submission one request, I believe, is 23,000. I'm sorry, submission two, 23,000. Yes, there we go. Which would be the 23,000 we took from Parchment's request. Okay, perfect. We're in shape. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you, Administrator. Vice Chair Pro Tem.
Thank you, Chair. I'm in support of all these things that you guys have proposed. I think it's fair, but I'm hoping that we will get a report back on what progress these grants made. I mentioned it at our last meeting. When we're giving out grants, we should be getting some matrix back as to was the thing that they were proposing successful or was it not? And how successful was it? I don't want to make it complex for them, but we should be getting something back that tells us what this grant did for the community. And it seems like we're always putting money out. We never hear back. Were we successful? Did we do anything? Thank you.
Thank you, Vice Chair Pro Tem. Administrator, would you be able to speak to how we will garner the level of service provided from the grantees back to the board?
Absolutely, Chair. So what we can do when we draft up the agreements, we can stipulate that they are to report out on progress either on a quarterly basis or at the time in which they expend all the funds. So we can say, your final report's due within 30 days of final drawdown from the grant, something like that. But the board can we can require any sort of reporting requirements we'd like to stipulate at this time.
Thank you, Administrator. Vice Chair.
Also, I completely agree with Commissioner Hepler, but also if we could say that if they don't spend it within a year, that it's returned as well, because I'd hate to see that money dangling out there year after year after year if nobody's going to spend it. Not everybody's as nice to say, hey, we can't spend this, we're giving it back. Some people just keep it there.
Good. All right. Thank you very much, Administrator. Commissioner Kissler.
Yes, only to save administration possible headaches and time and whatever else, I will repeat what I said, I think, at the last meeting, and that is touch base if you feel like it to Cassie Bailey, who did such a wonderful job coming up with the pros and cons and the success or lack thereof for people involved with the Area Agency on Aging. She did that beautifully, and we started out with I don't know how many, but it was a lot of books to juggle, and she might be able to give you some guidance or some help as to how to go about getting responses back and answering Vice Chair Pro Tem questions that you had. Don't buy your teeth through Amazon. It's not a good idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioners. All right, anything?
Chair, if I may.
Yes,
It's just a really quick question for the commission. I want to ensure that we're on the same page when we're drafting the agreements, so that they don't have to come back to the board for approval. We intend to authorize, like we did last year with when the board awarded funding to like KVCC, YWCA and such, they authorized the administrator to sign those approved to form by Corporation Council. What I want to ensure is that the funding gets dispersed as you desire. Does the commission desire that these funds be reimbursed, so they're drawn down on a reimbursement basis, or that we provide it to the grantees up front in lump sum?
Thank you for that question, Vice Chair.
My preference, strong preference would be a reimbursement base for services. We're good for it. If they give us a receipt, I think we pay it immediately. But I think you get into trouble when you don't do a reimbursement basis as a governmental entity, because if something act of God or something happens that they're not able to provide that service when they've already received the dollars, then it could get really dicey.
Commissioner Ray, then Commissioner Morales.
Well, I'm always gonna argue against that because in my opinion, it's an equity issue. And not everybody has the money up front, so I think it should be, we give them the money, we have a contract at the end of the year, whatever that is. We ask for the supporting documentation and final report. And if they haven't expended all the funds, give it back.
Commissioner Morales.
She said it, and yeah. I also, because we came into a pickle with an entity that didn't know they needed to invoice, it was their first time receiving funds, so it did sit for a year. So just when we're communicating that to make sure, and it could have been communicated and fell through the cracks, but I got a call like, did y'all pay us? I was like, yeah. And then Kevin was like, no, we didn't. I was like, oh shoot, so that piece, and it is an equity issue, and I'm seeing it even when we voted on Miller. I think it was Miller and Elite, and that company, and I can't think of it, that was their name, but that company was trying to come up from grassroots and was like, no, we want this done now, and you can't compete like that if nobody ever gives you a chance. So sometimes you have to have some funding in place, do the right thing, and as Pro Tem Hepler said, give us the data back. And if you can't, then give us our money back. And if you can't do that, then we'll see you in court. So, and hopefully we don't have to do that, because I've seen entities just disappear and we never collect stuff. So again, as I always say, I want to be consistent about this, but I don't want to go on a you give me a receipt basis, because then a lot of things won't get done on a grassroots level.
Thank you. So hearing the feedback, I would agree with the colleagues to my left here. But maybe there's a compromise between those two things. Maybe the standard contract is proposed forward on a reimbursement basis, and if the entity would like to request the disbursement up front, that it is a clause that they may request so within the contract, and so that allow organizations that do have difficulty launching the programming. And then as far as reporting, for me, I don't want to see folks bogged down with like quarterly reporting. I think for me, an annual report or a report at the end of it would be annual, because we'll ask for it to be expended within a year, is sufficient back to the board if that's in alignment with the rest of the board. Okay. Good. Do you have direction that you?
Absolutely. So we will incorporate that language, and Corporation Council can certainly see that that gets incorporated. And what we'll do probably, if, as we kind of go on throughout the year, we can sort of require them maybe even on a quarterly basis to submit supporting documentation, at least so we can see that they are spending the money. That way we know in terms of for the board, fiduciary responsibilities, they know that funding is being spent timely, so that way what funding may have to come back by the end of the year, if any. So we can incorporate some of that language too, and then work with the applicants to hopefully disperse funding towards the mid to end of January next year. So, yep.
All right, I think we kicked that one around. We hugged it, loved it, and got it done. So good. Okay, thank you, commissioners. Let's go next. We're going to item 6. The first is a discussion, a consideration to use some ARPA funding that we had identified for housing supportive services to get secured locked storage at Ministry with Community on the amount of $15,000. So I've asked this to come forward. We had the Continuum of Care is engaged in their strategic planning process, and I'd attended one of the sessions. I attended a few of them, but one of them was with other municipal governments, and there wasn't many of us there. But as we were having that discussion, among them came up again, and I heard this discussed at the city of Kalamazoo a number of times, was the need for storage. And we were talking around the stigmatization of people who are unhoused in the community, and tensions that exist with the business community. And often it's the presence of all of the items that the unhoused are struggling to carry with them everywhere that cause tension on the sidewalks and in the community, beyond the personal struggles that it causes for the individual, the physical labor to carry all of your belongings everywhere, the risk that your items are robbed or stolen, which is a common issue that occurs, and a reason why many of our unhoused community members come back to the county ID program over and over, because they're continually losing their items, losing their documents, they're stolen or they're destroyed. And so these funds, what they would do, while it's not an ultimate solution, it is a quickly deployable option for the unhoused to have a secure locker in which they can store all of their belongings. Ministry community has articulated they'd be willing to provide the physical space. They would be outside, and we could deploy these, and if it's not working or it needs to be changed, could be reevaluated. So that's the gist of how it comes forward. And I see Commissioner Morales.
Thank you, Chair, and I would support this. I have some students facing housing insecurities at the college, and a lot of times they were going to ministry and community, and one of them specifically is in our engineering program, and so they had tools and all the kind of things, but couldn't be let into the building. Like, I can't leave my stuff outside, and then they got dismissed from being able to even go there. So I think, it's one thing to be like, okay, people are putting their stuff in there, but there are people out there trying to do better. Today I had a student who was unhoused, living in a tent, lost her bus pass, and so I think this would be a great addition to have folks. Hopefully they can go back and forth and get what they need, and it's not just someone. I'm not going to put a staple on that. Never mind. Hopefully this works out, but I am supporting this because I do have a high population of unhoused students that are trying to attain their degree, and they have nowhere to put their books, their papers. They're staying at the college from 9 in the morning. Well, when we open at 8 to 9 at night, it's about to get cold. It's about to snow on Sunday, and I just want to make sure that they have a safe place to put their things. So I do support this. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. I see Commissioner Ray and then Vice Chair.
Thank you, Chair. I also support this idea. I guess I'm just not information on how many storage or lockers this will provide. And then also, is this ARPA supported service dollars, or is this from the housing millage supported service dollars?
They are ARPA funds that did not get expended. So they are existing ARPA funds.
Okay, so is there like not a process to request them? Should people just come to commissioners and ask for things? And then also the 400,000 that we just allocated for housing to the continuum of care, seeing that this came from a session at the continuum of care, Ministry with Community was one of the people who received those dollars. Like, this couldn't go in that, like.
Let me, just to clarify, so it was a session convened by the Continuum of Care, but the agency that they had come in to facilitate was there. There were not like Continuum of Care other employees there. So it wasn't a request from them or a request from Ministry with Community. It was just it was really the city of Kalamazoo and the county of Kalamazoo there. So Deputy City Manager Laura Lamb, Housing Director Balkema, Planning Director Grover, and myself were in this dialogue. And it was just in that discussion that the need for secure storage came back up again. And Director Balkema identified how we did have supportive services dollars that the board had identified for housing supportive services, which this would be within that description, in ARPA, still had not been expended, that we could utilize it. So I don't know if that exactly answers.
How many lockers will this support, and is that enough? Will a tent fit in there? Will a suitcase fit in there? Like, what fits in a locker?
Yeah, thank you. So I don't know if, oh, thank you, Administrator, I think has the details. Good.
No, of course, yeah, Chair, and Vice, Commissioner Ray. So the estimate right now, it's 50 lockers for $15,000. It's an estimate, and we're told that the number may change slightly, but right now the budget is $15,000 for 50 lockers. In terms of the other questions, as far as capacity, we don't know that at this time, but we can obtain some information hopefully within the break.
The way to describe they're really basically like Herbie Kirby's. You know, they'll be secured, they'll be lockable with a double key. So they hold so many yards. It's not like a metal locker. And so I don't know, maybe Administrator could find out, there may be a size that we've priced for how much that is holding. But this is a initiative, it's utilized this way in other communities. I don't think 50 is enough. But this was money that we had sort of like, it's quick to deploy. And so we could evaluate how effective it is and get feedback from folks who utilize it to see if we want to expand it. Was it a bad idea? You know, so it's sort of like a trial for the first time to offer that sort of secure storage for folks.
Okay, so just to follow up, so is Ministry with Community gonna decide who gets the lockers? Is there a time frame where I just have the locker for life? If I move out of town with the key, is it still my locker? Like, Ministry with Community is figuring all of that out, considering they weren't a part of the conversation?
Yeah, thank you. I don't know the answers to that. I think first we needed to identify if we wanted to see this move forward, but we want to have a board discussion if there was an appetite for that. So I think those are all valid questions. I know each of the items will be double keyed, so the individual won't hold the only key to the locker. But probably within programming, we could design, you know, how we ensure that something's not just dumped there and then never recovered, or we could bring that back if there's interest in making the expenditure. And we'll go back to the service providers and come back with more information. So, let's go to Vice Chair and then Commissioner DeLude.
First off, I have no problem with $15,000 for lockers. We are on our consent agenda. We're raising the amount for a media firm from 150 to 500, and that's on our consent agenda. And we're talking about $15,000 for lockers. I've got absolutely no problem with $15,000 for lockers. If they need more, we can find $15,000 for more. I think, quite frankly, we should give the chair the discretion to make these types of determinations and put it on the consent agenda, because $15,000 for lockers, we're talking about the double keys and the programming of it and everything else. I think we're getting into the weeds, and we need to like take a step back and say, where are our big expenditures, and look at those. But yeah, as far as $15,000 for lockers, I have absolutely no problem with that. And Chair, I have no problem with you having those small ideas on small expenditures. I appreciate you bringing it to the county commission for discussion, but something this small, I trust you on that. So,
Commissioner DeLude, and thank you, Vice Chair.
The chair doesn't have small ideas, by the way. Yeah, I totally support this because I've dealt with people, I mean, as if their life isn't bad enough, and then people steal all their stuff, and they're just. My only question is, and I'm not saying we do enough for the homeless, but does the city of Kalamazoo contribute to things that, I mean, we're trying to do for the homeless? Like, because obviously these people are down, they're in the city of Kalamazoo. Do they step up like the county does to help these folks, and we're just not aware of it? Or I just wonder what their contribution is to like something like this.
Thank you for that question. So to speak to that, I think each of us have roles to play, and the city of Kalamazoo, I think, really needs additional support to be able to tackle the issues of people who are unhoused in this community. And our cooperation and collaboration together is really important. I mentioned the first time I heard discussion around locked storage in the community was at the city of Kalamazoo. And I inquired what's been the barrier to that. And it was really about a barrier of capacity and focus. Other things come up in the agenda and become prioritized, and it just never made it over the finish line. But you know, there is partnership at the table. They helped generate the idea, and we're going to help to advance it over the finish line. And I think we'll continue to look for opportunities to collaborate, not just with the city of Kalamazoo, but the city of Portage, Kalamazoo Township, the rest of, you know, Comstock, all of our parchment, all of our community members, because, unhoused people are everywhere in Kalamazoo County. We certainly see a concentration of them in the city, but when we met on land use at Cooper Township a couple weeks ago, and we talked a lot there about individuals that they have living in the elements in Cooper and the struggle with getting them to services and getting them the conflict with private property owners and et cetera. So point is taken, and I think the dialogue is ongoing. Yep. Commissioner Morales.
I was gonna say the same thing. I agree with you, Delu, that people step in, but they're flushed here from all the other areas. So I would like to see buy-in from Portage, who seems to think that there's not a houseless population that is out there and that everything should be shifted to District 1, which I do not agree with. I think that it needs to be sifted everywhere, but where the most tax-paying dollars are being collected, it seems like their voice overpowers what the need is around Kalamazoo County, and that's how they get flushed in the downtown, area and city of Kalamazoo. So I would like if the city and Portage and other municipalities are listening. We need your help with this. Thank you.
Good. Thank you, commissioners. Anything further on that one? Okay, so we'll seek some more information about implementation. We'll come back with an update to commissioners at that time. All right, our next, we have a first reading of resolution, direct county treasurer to invest housing millage fund, 297 receipts separately from the pooled funds account. So this again would just keep any of those housing resources that are sitting in investments partitioned for future, allocation for housing specifically. And the second is a first reading proclamation honoring Pastor Michael L. Brown. Right. We also now have a closed session. Now, if anyone hears the motion, if you want to.
I move that we move into closed session to further consider the periodic personal evaluation of the county administrator pursuant to MCL 15.26A.
Motion is made by Vice Chair Taylor, supported by Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler. Any further discussion? Clerk, will you please call the roll?
Commissioner Morales,
Yes.
Commissioner Ray,
Yes.
Chair Strebs,
Yes.
Vice Chair Taylor,
Yes.
Commissioner Wheeler, Commissioner DeLu,
Yes.
Commissioner Gissler,
Yes.
Vice Chair Pro Tem Hepler,
Yes.
Commissioner Mazer.
Yes.
You have 8 yes.
All right, that motion carries. Adjourn to closed session.